All right. Hey, welcome back to the Gopher CEO channel. So excited, as always, to bring you CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, and intrapreneurs to tell you the real stories of what's going on in small to medium-sized business. And guess what? This is around the world. We're starting to get people from Ireland, from UK, today from Sweden, my man, the Game Changers Enterprise. It's so cool because I've been able to build some great relationships. I'm hearing these people on Clubhouse and I'm transferring over to Gopher CEO channel. And today I'm very delighted and honored to have the gentleman, Adam Strong. He's world renowned. He's got homes in different places. He was telling me offhand, and so excited to have him on because he really is changing the game, just like his name of the enterprise is, the Game Changer. So welcome, Adam. Thanks for coming on the Gopher CEO channel.
Appreciate the introduction, and I'm a big fan of you. And listen, I love our conversations on Clubhouse too.
Yeah. In Clubhouse, I'm John the Bomb. Building others means business.
Exactly.
And I always forget to say that. But you know, on Gopher CEO channel, you know, we have a community that's growing and really just starting to develop different stories of different industries. We've probably had about 45 industries in total, 80 videos plus. So by the way, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like this video, and look, today we're going to talk some real business again with Adam Strong. So Adam, tell us a little bit about the Game Changers and kind of the idea that came about, how you started to formulate the process, and then bam, how you got into business is kind of how we usually start off. So take it away.
Sure, I appreciate the question. Well, interestingly enough, I've been an entrepreneur for the best part of 30 years, which is a long time, right? I started off in the world of entrepreneurship at the age of 11. So that's when I first started up. That's when I really got the appetite for entrepreneurship, right? And it's interesting because when I grew up, I didn't come from a wealthy family. My mum was a single mum at the time, and we lived off the state. That was and it was tough. It was tough. You know, some weeks we wouldn't be able to afford even bread and milk. That's how tough it was, right? And so one of the big things, one of the big epiphanies for me is I don't know. I guess a young boy like me was just strolling, and for some particular reason, I just kind of started seeing all these golf balls. And next day I went back and I started collecting all these golf balls. And, you know, this was at the age of 11. I had zero money, right? My mum we were a poor family. So next day I went back with my bucket, literally just a bucket, John, right? Jumped into the river, started foraging through all the bushes, getting stung by all the stinging nettles and all the prickly holly bushes and stuff, right? And as I started walking around the fairway of the golf course, I had all these sort of elderly gentlemen, mainly over the age of 60, and they were like really concerned about my safety. And so they'd approach me and I'm like, hey, so what are you doing around the fairway? We're going to hit you with our golf balls. And then like, and they obviously saw me carrying a bucket and they were intrigued about my bucket. And they're like, where did you get all these golf balls? And I'm like, well, I find lost golf balls. He goes, really? I was like, yeah. And this is where I learned sales and negotiation. It started making me offers on the golf balls because these guys, they weren't exactly like world-class champions in golf, John, right? They were like amateurs. And so it was an 18-hole golf course. I don't know if you're much of a golfer, John, but okay, so you'll probably know how frustrating it is that if you're down to your last ball and you've got 5 holes left and you're with a small group of 6 or whatever it is, you're gonna look really stupid if you run out of golf balls, your own golf balls, because I know how personal golf is and things like that, right? With your numbers and your name or whatever it is, right? It sucks. It's like, do you know what I mean? And then we go into this negotiation and sales process, right? And they'd offer me like, I don't know, like $7-8 for a golf ball. And I'd be like, well, I know this golf ball is worth at least $13-15, right? You got to give me a little bit. And this is where we went. This is where we met middle ground. This is where we both walked away with smiles on our face. They got some great balls, right? At a discounted price. And I made a bit of money. And I remember the first time we did this, I went back home. I had literally pockets full of pound coins, right? Pockets full of pound coins. My mom said, what did you do? Thinking that I'd done something really, really bad. And I was like, and I told her the story and she was like so proud. So, but that time I used to go back on a regular basis. And every time I used to give her a contribution and say, here's what I earned today. And this goes towards the household. So that's where it kind of really started for me. But that was my first appetite for entrepreneurship. So that was my background.
Now, in terms of the question, going back to the question and the concept of game changers, I really, the reason I came up with a concept is twofold. First of all, I used to be a former elite athlete. I used to study and train with Olympians. My discipline was distance running. Okay, so one of the not a particularly not a sprinter, but a distance runner, right? So I'd be one of the guys that would be out in -5 temperatures while all the kids were playing video games. I was out putting in the hard graft and basically in my shorts and vest and t-shirt in -5 temperatures, just basically like drilling it, right? Just really kind of building up my confidence and doing the things that I prepare to sacrifice my fun time, right, for wanting to be a champion. That's what I wanted to do, right? And interestingly enough, I got into athletics purely because I was asthmatic, right? which is completely wow. Like, whoa. And why would you start running and you're asthmatic? It's like, is that stupid or something? But I actually lost my asthma after 6 months of doing running. And so, wow. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. And so after that, I used a lot of those skills, John, and brought it into the entrepreneurship world. Okay, so game changers, and there's a lot of skills that you can learn from athletes that you can translate, bring it into entrepreneurship, run a business, things like that. I'm sure you've had some great interviews with people in the past and how that translates into both. Mm-hmm. So believe it or not, about where were we at? Probably about 18 months ago, I had a bit of an epiphany. So as the world is kind of still currently upside down, right? While everyone was in panic mode, I thought to myself, well, hang on a minute. While everyone's panicking, running around like headless chickens, thinking, how the hell do I survive a downturn market, right? How do I survive what's going on in the world? Fear, uncertainty, anxiety around the world. And there's me, I'm thinking, wow, opportunity, right? and here's the thing, like, when people are in chaos, a strong leader steps up. Okay. And this is one of the things that we did is I actually decided to really get out of my comfort zone and create an event which was off the charts, literally off the charts. And this is where the concept of Game Changers was. My big vision, and still is my vision, John, which is helping 100,000 entrepreneurs go from a place of fear and insecurity to a place of purpose, fun, and impactful businesses. That's what my vision is. Mm-hmm. And people love that. They still love that to the day. And that's how it all worked. It worked from creating a virtual summit, which our first virtual summit was 2,100 people. And then we launched a podcast, which was the Game Changers. Now the Game Changers audio experience, listened to 65 countries worldwide, top 3% of the world. And it's now, we're on episode, I believe, 117. And I think one of the things I really learned over the last 18 months, and using that concept of game changers is really using the vision to, I suppose, influence influencers, if that makes sense, or influence thought leaders. Okay, get them to buy into what you have on offer. And that's probably one of the reasons why my brand has really blown up over the last 18 months, because people are buying into the vision, right? They buy into you. It's the same with your listeners, right? If people are really struggling to really get a message out there, you got to think, how is your vision really big and powerful enough in order to sort of turn heads and create curiosity? So, we've had people like Dr. John Demartini, we've had people like Marshall Goldsmith, Jack Canfield, all of the big game changers in the personal development world. Not only have they turned into personal friends of mine, but we collaborate a lot, and that's what we're in. We're in the arena of collaboration now, John. So, sorry, that was a bit of a long answer to a short question, I guess, but I hope that kind of answered it.
No, I love it. I mean, again, many people over the last 18 months, we're talking about obviously the pandemic and hit the world. We're in September of 2021. If you're dating this, And, you take a look at some of the things that people really have developed, right? And started to strategize out there and put it out there, but you took action right away in the midst of turmoil. So help us understand. So you think of this concept. Did you have a background of virtual events? Did you have a background of just, brick and mortar events? What was your background to then say to yourself, hey, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 tools that can really hammer into the market and do some. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, good question. So I'm an international speaker anyway. So I fly all over the world. Companies pay me a lot of money. And so when the pandemic hit, for most speakers, like including myself, everything gets canceled. Okay. So the other thing you have to then think to yourself, well, how can I still continue to be of service and add value to society, to the world, without disrupting the norm? And that was the reason. And no, when we first did it, I had zero experience in virtual experiences, zero. It was idea to vision to execution in 7 weeks. Okay, 2,100 people. The back end was insane. I mean, we were working like 20 hours a day. We had 6 full-time staff, and the best part of it, John, is we did everything for free. Everything for free. Free tickets.
Oh, wow. Okay. So the events were free. You put it all together. And how did you, let maybe segue just a teensy bit, but it adds value here. How did you start to market it? Was it just the inner sphere that you already had? Obviously you were a world-renowned speaker already. What were some tweaks that helped then make that a success in that first event of 2,100 people?
So first of all, we talked about vision, and vision's extremely important, right? Getting your message out that resonates with your audience. Okay, so that's the first thing. But secondly, what we did is we actually leveraged, I'm really big into collaboration. I wasn't so much back then, but now I really see the potential and the opportunity. Like you like me, we all deserve fulfillment, success, wealth, freedom, all of those things. You desire those things like me, right? We all desire. So why don't we all work together in collaboration? So how it worked is there were a few rules, should we say? I'm going to call them rules, right? But a few rules when it came to speaking on the virtual summit. Number one is that they had to have had a certain amount of followers. So they had to have had at least 10,000 followers within their following it over social media. Secondly, we must all be prepared to work in alignment with each other based on values, based on the vision of what we were all trying to accomplish. And 3, coordination, really important to make sure that everyone is succinct. So when we did the virtual summit, the expectation, there was a clear expectation. So the clear expectation is that, okay, if we're going to do this, then we all have to promote it. Okay, regardless. Okay, I don't care what else you've got kind of hanging out, we've got to promote it, because otherwise we're gonna fall on deaf ears, and it's just not going to create the type of impact that we want. Okay. And because there's clear expectations, there's clear communication, and because we've had that in place, I rewarded the people that were speaking. So we had an affiliate scheme that we set up as well. We set certain launch dates. We made it easy for people. So we actually wrote, our copywriter got copy together and said, send this out to your list. All they had to do is fill in the blank spaces, right? Really super easy. So when you're creating something like this, you've got to make things super easy for people, because people are busy, right? You, like me, like everybody else, we're all busy people. But if you make it super easy for me, then I've got no excuses and no reasons why I'm not going to participate. So I think that's extremely important. The other thing is also making sure that everyone's got all set roles and responsibilities. You know, you've got the right people in the right places. You know exactly what you want to achieve and how you want to achieve it. And that way, again, I'm not saying that I didn't make mistakes. Of course I made mistakes, but people didn't really see that behind the scenes, of course. And it's really important that you don't show that, okay? Because again, the audience aren't going to know otherwise.
whether you did or not. So, you know, I was really proud of me and my team. We were really proud of what we'd achieved from an operational perspective. And we did what we came out to be. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention this as well, John. I had a newborn baby in between.
Oh, add a little sprinkle to the mix, right?
A little sprinkle to the mix, but I advise you guys, don't ever do that.
I love it. So is that your first kid?
No, that was my fourth.
Fourth. Okay. All right. So you've been through the gamut already. So I've got 3 girls myself, and yeah, I mean, it's, you know, we decided after the second one to wait 5 years, and now we have a 9, 7, and 2. So crazy stuff, but awesome. Well, hey, congrats on the 4th one. You know, yeah, look, you're juggling a lot of balls, and look, this is entrepreneurship, ladies and gentlemen. This is building something from scratch. This is having, like you said, idea to implementation. You know, so you gave us a little taste of really strategy and process with mixture of marketing. So take us through those 90 days before you launched, or maybe 60 days, however long it was. What were some technical things that you really made sure that you had on point? Like you said, you might have messed up on some things, but what are some things that you knew that 60 days out, 30 days out? So that's kind of that infrastructure side of things. So people learn, you know, what it is that you were thinking before you got to that date.
Yeah, it's a good question. So, you know, we didn't have a lot of time. What we needed to do is we knew that we needed to execute fast and quick. Now, for the people that know me pretty well in my circle, I'm an action taker. And so I'm a red personality, which means I'm a doer. Okay. So, but it's important that the people on your team have also got different personalities. You know, you've got the thinker, you've got the fun person, you've got the sort of steady Eddie type of person, but you've got a mixture of different personalities. What's important is that you set deadlines. Like for us, we had set deadlines, and we put together a schedule. Like, for example, this is when the graphics are going to be completed. So in fact, let me tell you a rough sort of schedule, what we started off with. Came up with the idea back in mid-March of 2020. That's when the idea came out. Mm-hmm. After we did that, within about 2 weeks, the event was full with 31 speakers. It was completely full. All right. And it was just a matter of reaching out to people in my network. Once I got that, we then needed to make sure that we got the headline was in place as soon as possible. We gave sort of about a 2-week window for the headline and sort of the main body. We use long copy form for our landing pages, and making sure that we come from a place of empathy, really understand our audience, and it really comes from the heart. And that we really understand what they're going through. And that's really important, is that when you're creating copy, it's important that you understand the language that you need to use with your audience. So that was really, really important. So we had a great copywriter. We got like over 40 years experience. The other thing is then bringing in who's the who's. And Russell Brunson uses this a lot in ClickFunnels. Who are the who's that we can effectively delegate out to? So I know that I needed to have a social media person. I know that I needed a graphic designer. I know that I needed to have what I was going to say to you. I know that I needed someone to do what I call the admin stuff, like the admin side of stuff. I know that I needed someone to do the back office stuff, which was all kind of things like the email marketing templates, stuff like that. So there were at least sort of 5 or 6 different roles that we needed to create, and everyone knew exactly what they needed to do, because I told them specifically, this is my expectation, this is what we need, this is what we need to accomplish, and these are the deadlines. Can you achieve it, yes or no? And it's always going to be a yes, especially if you're working with me, right? So and the other thing is creating that sense of urgency, this energy. Like for me, even when we're speaking right now, I come across as highly energetic, highly passionate about what I do. That is my DNA. That is my personality. It doesn't change, especially when, in fact, my energy goes up tenfold when we're running events.
I create sense of urgency, and that then translates into getting your audience excited, your team excited, and it's like, wow, I want to be part of this. Oh my God, it's kind of this in anticipation of like wanting to help people and serve without expectation and things like that. So yeah, mid-March, beginning of April, my fourth child was born on April I'm just trying to think now, April the 4th, and she was a little bit early. So that kind of let a spanner in the works and whatever it might be. But by that time, I'd already had people in place. They were already start working on that. And I needed to take a little bit of time off for the family and whatever it might be. And within about 2 weeks after that, which was about third week in April, the main sort of landing page had already been done. The affiliate stuff was already been set up in place. We started working on the back end. The back end was huge. We wrote 106 emails from scratch. That's how big it was. It was absolutely insane. All different copy, by the way, all different copy. So, and that was a mammoth task. That was a huge task, just setting it all up and things like that. So, what else can I say? Yeah, having certain graphics, making sure that all the folders were correct for all the speakers. They had all the right high resolution images in there. It had all of the bios in there. It had all the breakdown of what is it that what's the topic that they're going to be speak about. So there's clear and concise structure. So, and what's really important, especially when you're running virtual summits, is flow. You're not going to have someone that does mindset on day one, and then you suddenly go into social media marketing, then you go into sales funnels, then you talk about leadership, and then in day 3 you talk about mindset again. It doesn't work like that. You've got to make sure that there is a systematic flow, because otherwise it's just going to be a little bit disorganized, and it will show to the audience, and people will just put off by that. So then obviously, we did it all for free. And that's pretty much it. I don't think I think there's, from there, 7 weeks, and then mid-May is when we actually did the summit. It was all pre-recorded. So within about it was within 10 days, I did 31 hours back-to-back recording with thought leaders from around the world just in 10 days.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's a big impact, right? So you have this successful scenario of really idea to implementation. You gathered your network, you put all the pieces together. You also thought about flow, right? Chart flow of kind of how you went through everything. So you have the day, right? That day goes through. What are some back end things when you think about now, you're about 15 months later, what are you doing to be able to stay engaged with those? How many more events have you put on? And what are some of the things that you think about when you think about scaling and just partnerships, to kind of give the Go for CEO community some insights on that?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So, I mean, we're actually going to be launching our 3rd summit coming up of November of this year, which is a little bit different. But one thing that I really love to do is, because we've already run 2 summits and we've learned a huge amount not only how to run virtual summits, but what things work, what things don't work, if that makes sense. And I'm all about refining and fine-tuning stuff, right? What is it that we can effectively do better, right? What is it that we need to, and I think what's important, especially if you guys are running regular events or whatever it might be, number one is, is to create a tribe, create a tribe of people that effectively turn into raving fans of what you are trying to encapsulate across the world. You can only really do that through a number of channels. Number one is making sure that you're engaging with your audience on a regular basis, that you show care, you show empathy, you understand them. It's really important to do that. So cultivation, very, very important. Cultivation and engagement. So I think that's extremely important. The other thing is lead by example. So at the end of the day, people are motivated and inspired not by what you say, but it's by what you do. For me, I'm about taking action. And so there's a lot of people that are good at talking the talk, but when it comes to walking the walk, it's a completely different ball game.
Mhm.
So with answer to your question, it's not easy is the answer, which is probably not the ideal answer that your listeners are listening for. But effectively, if you're starting off with 0 people, okay, effectively, you want to put on something really, really big, which really is going to grab their attention. Not everyone is going to be attracted to you. It's a bit like me and you on Clubhouse. If we're pouring into somebody's cup and contributing towards them, not everyone is going to be magnetized towards what we say, what we do, and for whatever reason. And guess what? We're okay with that.
Yep.
We're not going to appeal against everybody. And it's the same with, nurturing a tribe. How do you nurture a tribe? How do you engage with them? How do you cultivate them? What is it that you're enabling them to do? What is it that you're helping them to do? And I think that's extremely important. I mean, from over the last sort of couple of summits and whatever it is, it's a numbers game, John, at the end of the day. There are going to be people that follow our podcast on a regular basis, and they do diligently make sure that they download it, listen to it, and make notes, but it's only a very small number. Mm. Because again, it's a numbers game. There's a lot of people that I wouldn't say are kind of similar to what I do, but we all have different kind of remits as such. But what I think is extremely important, but ultimately it is about that vision. It's extremely important to have a very powerful vision, because effectively people want to be part of what you, what the purpose is. What's the purpose in you? Why should people care about you? Why should people care about your business? Because if you look at, I think it was Gallup that did some research recently, and when with regards to employee engagement and productivity, they especially with the younger generation now, is that they're not motivated by money, and we're finding that out. We're motivated by our purpose, by our belonging, by the fact that I want to be part of something which fulfills me, fulfills my potential. That's what we want to be part of. And so that's what we've then got to do, is translate that into entrepreneurship. And that's what we're doing in the Game Changers.
That's definitely a game changer. I love that you're on your 3rd event. You really kind of retweet every single time. What are some of the things that you look at? Is it more of kind of the recording, the data, and the back end, meaning like who attended, who engaged? If you had sponsors, how did they get some feedback from your attendees? What are 2 or 3 metrics that you would mind sharing that allowed you then to go, okay, here's where I'm going to press the dial a little bit on this one?
Yep. So good question. So with the first event we did was all pre-recorded. The second event we did live in real time. So we wanted to, so I think what's really important is that we wanted to, when we run events, is making sure that you do not tweak too many variables. Otherwise it becomes extremely difficult to manage in terms of the variables. So if you're going to make a tweak, whether it be a podcast, running a business, whatever it is, make sure that you only change 1 or 2 variables within that, okay? Because if you change too many metrics, it becomes really difficult to know exactly what's working and what's not working. I hope that kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. So for us, one of the, so obviously key metrics, making sure that we always look at, I was going to say conversions. So we look at the conversion. So when we look at our landing page, we'd like to know how many people have clicked on our landing page, how many people are converting, and we'd like to compare that to what we did last time. So the higher the conversions, obviously, the more resonation that our audience is fulfilling. So conversions is extremely important. Okay, so that's one metric. Second metric that we use is we actually use, believe it or not, we commonly use polls and surveys during our summits to make sure that we're so in real time we'll ask the audience, so hey, so what do you rate the speaker? And so we want to make sure that the people that we bring in, as part of our virtual summits, they are all ticking the right boxes. We don't want to have numbers just for the sake of having numbers, but if it doesn't resonate with people, or one particular person has, I don't know, barked up the wrong tree or whatever it is, then we need to know about that, because otherwise we're not going to know otherwise. So that's really important, to make sure that you keep your fans and your peeps happy. You're not going to please everyone. We know that, but we want to make sure that the majority of people are happy with what we're delivering. What was the last thing I was going to say? The last thing I was going to say is financials, you know. So the first one we did was completely free. We made a little bit of money through ticket sales, through things like we basically put together a package deal. We made a little bit of money on that, but really, it really covered the expenses. So 2,100 people come through, but it didn't cost us a single dime to put the event together, because it wiped its cost. Now, probably some people are thinking, well, you made all that effort to make zero money. No, incorrect, actually. How much would it cost if you was paying Facebook or Google AdWords per lead, per cost per lead? How much would it cost you? Well, it's probably going to cost you a lot more than $3,000. Let's just face it. And there's no guarantees, right? So that's the other thing you got to think about. So financial is really important. How is effectively going to make revenue as well? So you've got to make sure that there's a fine balance between the two, and look for, exploit different avenues. What we're doing at the moment is we like to compare what other people are doing in terms of the virtual world as well. So we can learn from their business models, and we can learn and make some tweaks out there. And, you know, are they using different speakers? Are they using a free model? Are they using a paid model, whatever it is? And there are different models out there, and they work for different people. And so we're trying new things all the time.
I love it. I love it. So look, I mean, you've given us a big mouthful of just great information. Literally, you've taken us from zero idea, right? So, and then seeing the opportunity, creating this momentum. Now you're in your third event coming up soon. You've broken down even some of the ways that you've really kind of challenged yourself to understand, all right, where can I tweak? How can I keep it consistent? Where is the value coming back? How's the back end? So ladies and gentlemen, Gopher CEO community, I mean, you should really replay the last 2 or 3 minutes of just kind of understanding how Adam thinks, right? Because that is a huge deal. And obviously his vision of where he's going. So the last things that we kind of dwindled down when we kind of end our interviews, Adam, is we talk about CEO. So client experience, employee engagement, and operational excellence. So if you think about, 30, 60 seconds or so, what is the client experience for the Game Changers? Like, how do you differentiate in the market? So tell us a little bit about that.
Client experience for me. So one of my core values is all about creating wow. So whether it be, I'm sure that you've experienced wow, whether it be going on vacation with your family, and you've experienced a wow experience or whatever it is. For me, when people engage with me in terms of consulting, whether it be listening to a podcast interview, whether it be listening to me on a Clubhouse, for me, I'm always trying to be creating a wow experience for people. So that's it, really I'm Number 2 is excellence. Everything that I try to do, or everything that I do, is with excellence. I'm an A player. I don't want to be anything else other than an A player. And the people that lean into me, that want to do business with me, I expect them to do the same and reciprocate in the same ways. So it's not that I want to be bigger and better than anybody else. That's not the case. But for me, I love to give it as good as I get. So I hope that kind of answers the question.
No, yeah, I love it. And you know what? Let's be honest. I mean, part of entrepreneurship is that go-getter attitude, right? And go-giver as well, because you're giving great values. So phenomenal stuff. The E is for employee engagement. We didn't really talk a little bit much about that, but I'm assuming you have vendors, you have independent contractors, other speakers that work with you. Maybe you have some VAs. Maybe you do have some internal employees. Why do people want to do business with you? So how are they engaged? When I say employee engagement, it's not just about your true employees. It's about everybody around you. Why are they engaging with the Game Changers and Adam Strong? What could you share about that?
It's the culture. So for us, what's important is that we've created this culture. We're creating this culture of, our culture is that
it's got to be fun. Everything that we do is fun, because without fun, then you're not going to be engaged, right? You're not going to be as productive as you could, right? So that's extremely important. Number two, it's got to be purpose-led, because if it's not purpose-led, it's then again, it's kind of been forced. It's not, you're not doing it with intention. You have to be purpose-led. So that's extremely important. And number three, I want people to feel energized, right? And excited. Like for me, it's all about the culture. Like with our employees in our business, because we have employees, of course, it's extremely important that everyone is really kind of, understands our purpose and why we exist. But more importantly, what's their role? What is their role in terms of how do they fit within that purpose? Are they as excited as I am? Right? That's extremely important. Now, if there is a misfit between, core value, their personal values and your company values, then guess what? It's not going to work. So it's extremely important to make sure that there is an alignment between two. You can't get it right all the time. You just can't get it right all the time. It's just physically impossible. And also the other thing is making sure that you empower your team and your employees. Yes, I am the leader in my business, of course, and I'm sure that listeners are as well. You are the leader. You are the person that they look up to. You're the one that gives them direction, which is extremely important. But I want our employees to be successful. I want to give them the tools. I don't want them to ever leave. I want them to give them so much value in terms of training, in terms of, their attributes and things like that. I don't ever want them to leave for that reason, because otherwise, if you don't do those things, then guess what? They're probably going to leave one day and they're probably going to be a competitor.
I was going to say, it probably become your competition, right? So
exactly.
That's a lot of people don't realize is just understanding how to have those golden handcuffs or just really kind of the mindset of the culture, so that it becomes more about the vision than the individual. But as they say, there's a lot of Gallup surveys out there. You mentioned Gallup. People don't leave the company a lot of times; they leave the person. So that could be impactful too. So let's end it with this one of the CEO mindset. So O is for operational excellence, and you've shared some really cool nuggets about how you dissect it, how you've been able to tweak things, how you started to move things in parallel, how you put a flow to everything. What's maybe one or two last ideas on operational excellence when it comes to the Game Changers business?
Operational excellence. I would say that for me, operational excellence is all about results for me. It doesn't matter if you're running a small business or you're running a $1 billion company. The ultimate goal is results. That's, for me, results not just for our company, but results for our clients. We're driven and powered through results. So it's extremely important that people know that, right? The second thing from my perspective is also around, like, I'm a big fan of collaboration. If you I actually wrote, we've actually got our new book coming out next month called Play the Game, and one of the chapters that I wrote was all about the truth is that everyone should, not everyone, the truth is that asking for help is a sign of strength and not weaknesses. So, and that's extremely important, right? Especially in entrepreneurship. If you don't know something, okay, then ask, because otherwise the answer will always be no. All right. Mm-hmm. So we encourage our team, we encourage our clients to ask for help. Okay. And we want that. That's important in terms of our operational excellence. And, don't feel, just because you don't know the answer, don't feel that you're stupid, right? Because that's not what we want. We want people to lean in, and guess what? We're not all perfect. Okay. I don't know everything. You don't know everything, John, nor does all your listeners, right? It's extremely important that you ask for help, because it's a sign of strength, not weakness, especially from a leadership's perspective. So hope that helps.
No, that's huge. That's huge. So awesome, Adam. Well, hey, I just want to say thank you. Obviously, you know, with the speaking, you know, prowess that you've had, the expertise, the history, and then now this tweak of a change, you know, during a pandemic, and understanding kind of what are some things that you can make an impact with your network that you brought to the table. The third event coming up in November. Can you share just maybe a website? What's the best way to communicate? How to follow you? What are some ways that people can connect to Adam Strong and the Game Changers?
Absolutely. So thanks very much for asking. Well, the first way that you can connect with us is follow the Game Changers audio experience. So for you podcast fans, if you listen to any podcasts, feel free to subscribe, download a few episodes. And if you like what you listen to, you know, leave a review by all means. The other way is to connect with me is on LinkedIn. I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. It's probably where I hang out the most, if I'm honest with you. And or alternatively, you can check out my website, which is adamstrong.net. And as I mentioned, you can also check me out on Amazon as well. We've got our third book coming out on October 20th, 2021. And if we can make it an international bestseller and you could support us, then that would be amazing. I would really appreciate it.
All right, Go for CEO channel. You heard the challenge. Let's go read those books. And then especially this next one, help them get to that international bestseller list. So thank you so much, Adam. Appreciate it. And, you know, such great relationships that are coming out of this Clubhouse experience that we're all having. The time that we spend there to take it offline, to bring you onto my separate network, truly blessed. So thank you so much for coming on. And we look forward to have you in 6 to 12 months, because one of our goals is to create a tribe, to create a following, to obviously add to the big following that you have on the Go for CEO channel, and update people what is the 5th, the 10th, hopefully the 20th event, and so on and so forth. So look, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Love it. Thanks very much, John.
All right.